Well, it's no secret that all animal lovers know that their pets tend to shed a little bit. And this morning I'm joined by Dr. Jen Clabundi from Northwood Animal Hospital, and we're talking all about cat fur and cat hair.
Right.
And what exactly is the difference between those two?
Well, there is a difference. A lot of people use the terms interchangeably, and then we
Right.
make it more confusing because we throw in coat. And so there are three terms that are essentially referring to the same thing. But all mammals, Holly, are born with hair of some sort, and that includes dogs and cats, includes us. We actually used to have fur, evolutionary-wise, way back when, but we've lost it over time. Some of the cat breeds that we see have lost their fur as well, but they still have hair, like these hairless breeds out there, the Sphinx. If you look, they still have very, very fine, thin, almost downy-like fur.
Wow.
But it's not fur, it's hair.
It's hair.
So we try to use the correct terms, but sometimes we get caught up in it and just refer back to fur.
And are those types of cats, are they really hypoallergenic? Because a lot of people who love animals, but maybe they're allergic, maybe that's a good alternative.
Right, and there's a huge misconception out there as to what does hypoallergenic mean. Okay. Is it really, am I allergic to the fur, or am I allergic to the skin cells? And none of those are true. There's a protein in cat saliva, and that protein is transferred to the fur when they groom.
Right.
This protein is actually what we're allergic to. So it has nothing to do with the fur, it has nothing to do with the skin cells, it's all about the saliva being placed on those. So a hypoallergenic breed, you're never going to do anything about the saliva and the proteins in the saliva, but you can really cut down on the amount of allergens that your cat has by frequent brushing or frequent bathing to try to rinse that protein off of the fur.
Because a lot of people, you know, they say, oh, I'm allergic to the fur, I'm allergic to the cat, the
Right.
fur everywhere, I need a vacuum, but it really
Right.
is the saliva from the animal.
Yeah, it's not the fur at all. It's just that the more fur your cat has, obviously the more they're going to groom it, so the more protein is on that from the saliva. Vacuuming is key, bathing is key, and brushing is key, but again, it's not to reduce the amount of fur, it's to get that protein off of it.
And how often would you recommend people brush their pets?
It depends on if they're a long hair or short hair or a hairless breed like the Sphinx. You know, sometimes in a long breed cat, we recommend brushing, you know, almost every day.
Oh, really? Okay.
And this is a lot. Cats are extremely good groomers, so they usually take care of it themselves. But in order to help, especially in a person who's allergic, you're going to want to do it at least every day.
Every day. Okay. Well, coming up in the next segment of Pet Talk this week, we will talk about how to keep those cats' coats clean and how often you should be doing that as well. And that's coming up in the next half an hour. Now let's do line coats and how to keep them healthy and shiny, and what would make a cat not have a healthy coat. So tell us about these cat coats.
Well, cat coats are a tricky thing, Holly, because there are 130,000 hairs per square inch on a cat.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's a huge number, a huge volume of hair that we need to keep looking, you know, clean and shiny and healthy. And there are a lot of disease processes that can actually cause coats to not look as good as they should. The number one factor being weight. Weight is a huge issue. 56% of cats are overweight or obese in this country, which is a huge volume. When they're obese or overweight, they, you know, you've all seen it. They can't get around and groom themselves, so their coat does not look very good. And all they have to do is lose weight in order to make that better.
Okay, and then what can people do to ensure that their cats' coats are shiny and healthy, whether it's grooming them themselves, brushing, or how can they do it?
Proper nutrition is the number one thing. There are lots of poor quality foods out there, and they have on the label that they're an excellent food, but they're really not. Talk to your veterinarian about that. Food quality is a huge one in keeping cats' coats less than perfect. And then also age. Age is another factor. If they're old, if they're arthritic, they can't get around and groom themselves as well as they should. We can cause trauma to their coat by giving them baths too frequently.
Okay.
A lot of people love to give their cats flea baths, and this is not a good idea. First of all, it's not going to take care of your flea problem. Talk to your vet about that as well. But all you're doing is basically killing their coat. So those three things: keep the weight down, put them on a good quality food, help with their age and nutrition factors, and then do not give them baths. These are all great ways to keep their coats looking optimal. Baths, you don't really need to give cats baths that often because they are such great groomers.
So
but
how
brushing
often
them,
would they? So how often would you need to give a cat a bath?
You know,
like
typically
almost never.
Wow.
Wow.
Almost never. But grooming is very important. So help them along, brush their coat. If it's a long-haired cat, brush them every day. You know, if it's a short-haired cat, brush them once a week. They love this. It's more bonding time for you and them. It's a positive all the way around.
Definitely. I've noticed in every cat I've ever encountered that I've brushed, they love it.
Yes.
They purr.
They do.
They enjoy it.
They do love it. And I think mostly it does feel good, but they like to bond with you.
Definitely. All right. Thank you to Dr. Jen Klabundy for joining us this morning for another edition of Pet Talk.